white people, see your way out, hit the door. This is not a conversation for you. But black folks, we don't. I feel like we don't talk about this enough because I feel like we don't talk about how much this plays into like anti-Semitism and white supremacy. Like the idea that black folks are trying to be everything but African. Like the whole we're actually the Hebrew Israelites or we were actually the Native Americans theories or whatever. Like not only are they just historically flawed, but just like it kind of feels like you're running away from being of African descent, which is questionable. Also, y'all cling to Egypt for your dear lives, but don't talk about any of the like sub-Saharan African kingdoms. It's giving white supremacy. It's giving buying into white supremacy. And also, a lot of y'all who identify like this are hella anti-Semitic.
Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory unto the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Ba'asham Raka Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and salutations to all you sincere Akim. And this is your brother Abawan back again with another video through the spirits and power of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Ba'asham Raka Kwadash. All praises and glory is due, especially in the times that we're in. And yeah, I'll just be going into or responding to the videos that I put up before this one, and it's basically right the whole argument of, oh, you are not, you are basically, you are African, not a Hebrew Israelite, right? You are African, not a Hebrew Israelite. And I'm just going to entitle this video, as you already can clearly see, that being Israelites is our greatest heritage. All right, being an Israelite is our greatest heritage, because the problem with you Israelites, you Jakes that are in the world, is that you only know, right, or you don't know your true identity. You don't know your true nationality. So the only identity or nationality you know is the one that has been given to you by Esau Edom, by the so-called red man, by the devil himself. Okay, right? That's why you believe that you're African, because Esau told you that you came from Africa, but he didn't tell you what your people, and he won't tell you what your people were doing right before they migrated into Africa, because that is what you Israelites don't understand. That's your so-called Negroes, right? Mainly the Southern Kingdom. Your peoples did not originate in Africa, meaning that you want in Africa up from the beginning of our people, right? From the establishment of our people up until you know the time of the transatlantic slave trade, but rather, the Israelites, okay, Jake had to come to Africa, basically the west coast of Africa, right, after 70 AD, after the fall of Judea, and that was when they were in the west coast of Africa, not as Africans but as refugees. Okay, that's why you dumbass jigs out here. And the funny thing is that a lot of you jigs aren't even actually from Africa, man. Some of you jigs are brought straight up from Europe, right? Because you also had a large number of Israelites that were living in Europe at the time, whether it was in Spain or in Italy or the UK, England basically, or Germany, or so on and so forth. And you can read about that in the letter. I believe that was 1776, right? The letter that Benjamin Franklin wrote. I forgot what they called the letter. Something of human races or something like that, where he basically said that aside from the British, right, which of course you know what the word British means, right? It basically means the children of the covenant. But aside from the UK, right, the English, okay, the modern day English, which are your Edomite Germanics, right? Your Edomite Germanics, because the original Germans, right, were Jake, okay. But yeah, they said that aside from them, you had a large population of Jakes that were living in the UK at the time, which were the ones that built all the castles and were the original, dynasty of the royal family in the UK. All right, but let's keep going into this. Right, let's keep going into what I'm saying. And basically, what they always say is that, oh, the reason why we are Hebrew Israelites is because we are ashamed of our African heritage, right, or whatever they want to say. But this is the thing: we are not Africans, okay, and it is very obvious because these people are unlearned. if you go into the origin of where the word Africa comes from, it comes from the Roman, general Leo Scipio Africanus. Okay. Now, of course, if you go into the ChatGPT, if you go into the Google and ask them about the etymology for the word Africa, oh, they will tell you about how it's unknown. They don't know where it comes from, but coincidentally, right? One of the generals that was responsible for one of the Roman generals that was responsible for taking over large sums of land in North Africa at the time and fighting against Hannibal Barca. Ironically, the continent of Africa just gets randomly named after him. All right, and let's get this preset real quick. Let me get this preset real quick. I believe this should be the book of Habakkuk. I believe it should be the book of Habakkuk. Let me just type this in. Let me go to the KJV. So this is the book of Psalm 49 verse 11, and it reads, "Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names," right? And this is speaking of Esau, Edom. And basically his mindset, right? They call lands after their own names. That's the reason why Africa is called Africa, and it is named after the Scipio Africanus, right? So once again, we are not Africans, we are the Hebrew Israelites, okay? Because yes, we'll acknowledge the different kingdoms that were built over here in West Africa during our time in West Africa, right? Where there's the Mali, the Songhai, the Benin, the Dahomey, right? So on and so forth. Wagadu, Jollof, my personal, the kingdom of my own people, of my own tribe, Igbos, right? The Nri kingdom and the Arochukwu kingdom, right? So on and so forth. All that does not matter, okay? Because our greatest heritage is still being the Hebrew Israelites, okay? And let's not forget the reason why we were brought to the west coast of Africa in the first place. And that's not because we are sent here just to go and be building all these kingdoms and living here peacefully, because that's what Jake's mindset right there. These people are simple minded, okay? They haven't really gone in depth into history, right? Or understanding this, well, basically the understanding or any form of understanding, right? Whether it's history or the scriptures, right? They haven't gone in depth, because if they did, they would not be making comments like this. The spirit is clearly not dealing with them. That's why they can't see what is obvious, and that is that basically, right, our people are not Africans, right? Because this isn't Africa. I mean, this is the land of Ham that we're in right now, right? Because first and foremost, Esau, Edom was the one that came up with that name of African, and that word African is a byword and a proverb towards our people, because our true nationality and the true name of our people is Yasharaliam, the children of Israel, the Israelites, okay? In the Paleo Hebrew, of course, Yasharaliam, and that is the true identity of our people, not Africans, okay? But the reason why you want to cling to Africa is because Esau, Edom gave you that identity, and the bulk of you Jakes out there, you still love Esau. As our Lord Yahweh said, "Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do." Is similar to the Kemet niggers, right? Egyptologists, okay? Egyptology is a branch of, archaeology, quote unquote, that was set up by Aleister Crowley, right? The Edomites. And it's funny how that works, right? How these Edomites will come out and say, well, the Egyptians weren't actually a dark skinned Hamites, right? But they were a different group of people, the whole Hamitic out of Africa theory, right? They were a different group of Afro-Asiatics people that they don't know, the true identity or anything like that, that came and invented Egypt, basically taking away, the kingdom that the the Mizraimites, Mizraim set up, right? And it was Jake really that made Egypt great. But these Kemet niggas will still be a part of Egypt, even though it is not their heritage, okay? And what our true heritage, what our true nationality is Israelites. And granted, we had great kingdoms here in West Africa, because what you Jakes need to understand is that, all right, we being the Hebrew Israelites, because we're not claiming anything, we're not claiming, or we're not saying, or trying to claim, or any other word that you want to use. We are the Hebrew Israelites, okay? There is no question about that. And us claiming, okay, because that's basically how you Jakes think that, oh, we're claiming our identity. No, us saying that we are the Hebrew Israelites is just us bringing out the truth, and just us speaking the truth, okay? No confusion, right, should be there. We are the Hebrew Israelites. There's no need to be claiming or trying to be or anything like that. We are the true Hebrew Israelites according to the scriptures. And let's not forget the reason why we were even pushed, right, or forcefully exiled to the west coast of Africa is because of our disobedience against the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahweh. That's why you had, even here in the west coast of Africa, Jake was always going off, worshipping and creating all these idols and setting up their own, West African, cultural pantheons and so on and so forth, right? Discarding the heritage which you are given by the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahweh, and serving all these false gods and false idols here in Africa. And that's the reason why the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahweh ultimately put, the curses on you Jakes out there, right? And the stupidity that our people had did, right, during that time period is something that you see Jake in this modern time still continue to do. They still continue to claim that, oh, that we're not Israelites anymore, we're Africans, so we don't need. So basically, they want to cling onto what is, let me just quickly get this precept, because it's better if I go into this precept because it explains it better. So this is the book of this is the book of Jeremiah 2, and I'll start from Jeremiah 2 verse 11. Hath a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? But my people have changed their glory for that which doth not profit. Right? And Jake is always changing their glory for that which doth not profit. You want to be black, you want to be African American, you want to be Native American, you want to be African, you want to be Egyptian, you want to be a Moor, you want to be all these things that are unprofitable unto you, and the true identity, the true nationality that is profitable unto you, you reject, and you say, oh, well, we're not Hebrew Israelites, right? Because you believe that the actual Hebrew Israelites, and that's what that woman was saying right there, right? You believe the actual Hebrew Israelites are the small hearts that are living in the state of Israel, right? Oh, they are the real Hebrew Israelites. And it shows you once again that she has no understanding, because if she did, she would understand that they do not fulfill the requirements, right, and the prophetic events in order for them to be the real Israelites. They did not have the curses applied to them, and even though they are in the Holy Land, they are not dwelling peacefully, neither are they dwelling safely, but rather they are committing all manner of wickedness and evil all over, all up in that land. But of course, they are the real Israelites, and we that are in this truth, bringing out the 100% truth of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and actually going into the scriptures and reading the scriptures and giving the understanding of the scriptures unto our people. No, we are the fake ones, right? Even though we are clearly showing, through the scriptures that, the Most High, the Spirit of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is not only dealing with us, right, but also giving us the instruction of how to break down these scriptures, clearly showing you that, this is the book, right, of the Hebrew Israelites, because we have the truth. But no, we are the fake Hebrew Israelites, right? We are simply just Africans, okay? And like I said, right, and I'm going to reiterate it again, we do not have any shame or even care for our African heritage. We're not claiming to be Hebrew Israelites, because this is something that Jake will want to try and pivot and say that, oh, the Hebrew Israelites are claiming to be, Hebrew Israelites because they are ashamed of their African heritage. No, right? This is me right now, African, living in Africa, speaking to, on this topic right here. And that is that, brothers know about the different kingdoms in Africa, man. Brothers know the greatness that our people had when we were in the west coast of Africa, all right? First iron smelters, so on and so forth. But we are still the Hebrew Israelites, and the fact that we are the Hebrew Israelites will always be our greatest heritage, our greatest nationality, not whatever bullshit that you had going on, right, in Africa when you were facing or you were about to go through the curses of the Mosai Yahweh Hashem Yahweh. That's beside the point, man. All right, we are finally coming back to our true heritage, finally coming back to our true nationality, repenting before the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahweh. And Jake still wants to be talking about some Africa. He's talking about some Africa. What does the continent of Africa have to do with anything? Dealing in what's going on in the world right now. When our focus is supposed to be on the downfall and the destruction of America, Babylon the Great. But this is the mindset that our people have, right? Because they believe and they mind the things of Esau far more than the actual truth, right? So I'll end it right there once again. All praise his honor and glory unto the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Ba'asham Rakakwada Shwa Abad Baba Shalom. And through the Spirit of your Akam and Joakwas were edified. Shalom.